let's bring Martin into the mix. Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Kember, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. How you guys doing? What's up, Jeff? What's up? What's up, Mr. Christopher? How you feeling, man?
I am doing good. It's good to see you.
Made it, man.
I'm so used to just going Facebook Live and then joining the broadcast. I'm like, wait a minute. There's probably another procedure for this. Let me check that text stream again. So, my bad.
It's all, you're like, I'm here. We're like, not really.
There we go. Now I can see.
20 minutes later.
I have the iPad that keeps going to sleep on me, and then I have to put in my password, and then of course this is not a paid software, so now it's got this ad rotating, so I've got to wait for the ad to get done. Yeah. So, anyways, how you doing, Mr. Kember? How are you, sir?
Man, I am good, man. Staying busy, man. Staying out of trouble and trying to make some money, man.
Oh well, that's good. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. That's for sure. Man, it's really good to see you, and I just, I'm glad that you were on. You happened to be online the other day, the other time. Who was on? I think it was Greg Boyer that was on. And,
Greg Boyer, yeah. And then I caught the interview with Eric a little bit after the fact, after the broadcast last week. That was really, really entertaining and informative also.
Well, it was also cut short because, as many people know, Eric's going to be on for a part 2. We've already kind of been in discussions about this. So he's going to be on for a part 2 of this because he is a massive baseball fan, like a hardcore baseball fan, like big time.
Hardcore.
So he is a huge Dodgers fan. And right now, his Dodgers are playing my Atlanta Braves, so I've kind of had been sending emails back and forth, the whole apology.
It's a must win for the Dodgers. It's a must win.
Well,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, they could lose one more time, but then that's it.
Yeah. Wouldn't be a good look, though.
This would reenact what happened last year for the same exact thing. I'm just saying it could. That's, that's an Atlanta thing. You just have to understand. Where we get way ahead and then we go, we're just kidding. Here you go.
Yeah, I can't imagine that happening again. A whole repeat of that.
Well,
I'm torn though, because I'm here in Atlanta, but I'm from Boston. So I'm about to have 2 of my teams go. So, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It's a big night. It's a big night in sports. Opening night in the NBA too.
Is it really? Is it already that time?
Opening night in the NBA, yeah.
Oh,
our Los Angeles Lakers play Alfonso Starr's Golden State Warriors tonight, opening up for.
That's a pretty big game.
As we chase our 18th ring. Yeah, I said 18.
All right. We're still looking to even get close to the ring. We just want to get close enough to smell it. Oh, Hawks. Anyways, we're not going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about Martin Kember. Thank you so much for joining us today. I don't want to waste too much time, because we got so much to talk about. But I definitely want to make sure that we kind of give people a little bit of background about you too. You're the singer extraordinaire. You were with AZ-1, Color Me Bad. You also did some production for Tupac. We're going to talk about that right out of the gate. Yeah. We're going to talk about that.
We're not going to avoid that. That's
we have to know what that's all about for sure. But so you were born in London.
Nothing's off the table. Nothing is off the table.
To know. So you were born in London, England. You now live in Chicago. For those not familiar with your background, kind of fill us in on your humble beginnings. I guess starting in London. How did you get from London to here? What was that whole process? What was going on there?
Well, my mother was a singer also. She was an opera singer. And she had the opportunity to come from London to sing at Carnegie Hall. And so the family came to see her performance. And as the story goes, we kind of fell in love with this country. My father, who was an electrical engineer, realized he could make a lot more here at the time using his skills. And he got a job job offer over here. And we first started out in New York. We lived in just actually in Connecticut, but my dad used to commute into New York. And man, he got transferred so much. I've literally lived in so many different states, including Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan for a good long time, DC, which I'm going back to in November, which we'll talk about later. I did live in Chicago for 9 years also. But LA, I got here in junior high school. And one of the reasons my dad accepted a position here is because he knew that how focused I was on music. So shout out to Dad, man, for trying to put me in a place where I could continue to chase my dreams as my mom had. And so she was the one who really, fostered my musical aspirations, taught me to sing, taught me breath control, and she was a soprano. So, needless to say, I think my strength is my falsetto. So thank you, Mom. But so I started out literally as a kid doing impersonations of certain popular artists at the time, and got certain jobs, wedding gigs, and cruise ship gigs and stuff like that as a kid. But my aspirations.
You were on a cruise ship as a kid. Well, how old were you?
Yes.
Yeah. How old were you when you were on cruise ships?
Probably 9 or 10.
What?
Yeah, I used to do acts with my sisters. We used to do impersonations. Yeah, it was really a lot of fun.
Very cool. Okay,
so I was just born with music in my blood, and I fell in love with R&B and soul music.
We lost your audio, Martin.
So I fell in love with R&B music and disco as a kid, and funk and R&B, and once Prince came along, it just took everything to the next level for me. I would say, single-handedly, he's clearly the biggest musical inspiration, in my life, I just think, in coming up in my generation, we've been so blessed to have some of the greats like Michael Jackson and Prince, and not everybody gets that, you know what I mean? And so I'm just a music fan first. I was a kid that grew up listening to radio, and just I didn't learn music from a musical standpoint as far as learning. I learned everything by ear, and I've just always heard something and tried to figure out how to recreate it, and that's been kind of like my approach to my creative process.
Yeah. So then, we kind of fast forward. I'm really intrigued by the whole cruise ship thing at 9 or 10, because I've been on I've been on a few cruise ships, and I see some of the performers there, and I've always thought to myself, you know what? It might actually be really, really cool to have a cruise ship life, to actually be able to go wherever you wanted to go. You stay on the ship, you go out and, perform, once a night or maybe every other night, depending on how the cruise is set up. And then, you get all your meals free, you get blah, 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 blah. But you were only 9 or 10, so
right. So for us, it was pretty much in and out, one gig, and then back home, back to school, kind of thing. So, yeah. So I didn't quite get the full experience of that as a kid, anyway.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I would say then, did you even understand the level of what you were doing versus what adults do? You know what I mean? Being so young, doing that.
I think I did, yeah, because it was one of the first opportunities that I got to play with a band, with a backing band. And we were doing, like I said, impersonations. My sisters would sing with me, and we would do 3-part harmony and do the Bee Gees. And, I would do Reasons, Earth, Wind, and Fire. And, here's this little white boy, just going at it.
All right. Now, were you doing the Philip Bailey line of Reasons, or what?
Absolutely. The live version. Yes, sir.
Oh my God. That's nice. Well, at 9 or 10, your voice hasn't broken yet, so you might.
Yeah, they haven't dropped yet.
You know,
Exactly.
it's not like Michael got a lot of credit for hitting all these high notes, but he was a kid, you know.
Exactly. It's a little easier back then. The key is trying to keep it once your voice does change. You know?
I am literally listening to Reasons in my head right now, and I'm just wincing as a vocalist. It's like, oh my God. But then in high school, you guys put together a group called AZ-1, and that's how it's pronounced, right? It was
It's
AZ-1.
actually AZ-1, yeah.
AZ-1.
Yeah,
AZ-1.
and you know the concept of AZ-1 was started by me, one of my best friends, Sean Harris, who was from New York. I was from everywhere, including London, right? And my other best friend, Jeff Gill, who was from Los Angeles. So we started the group not after. Now, when I was 15, I'll just rewind a little bit. When I was 15, I was working at a club as a DJ that I wasn't even old enough to get into, but it was a 16 and up club. And so again, you know, there I would, you know, kind of build my, you know, my followers as they were back then. I'm singing live in the club. I DJ, and then when it came down, you know, back then we used to play the ballads and break it down so everybody could get a little slow dance on, right? So, you know, so then I'd grab the mic and sing, and you know, so not long after that, you know, after my DJ years, I got serious about creating music again, and AZ-1 was formed with Sean and Jeff. And we created a demo, and we actually, the first deal that we got was with a company called Indigo Records. Now there's a story behind this, because Indigo Records was led by a gentleman named Mr. Klein, who eventually partnered with another gentleman by the name of Suge Knight, who is very well known. That label eventually kind of morphed into Death Row, but I was with them prior to that stay. But during that time with that label, Suge brought in another gentleman who was very close with the NWA camp, and had done a lot of writing and producing for NWA and Michelet. L.A. Dre, who wrote Something in My Heart, and Nice Tea and all that stuff with Dr. Dre. So he came in to help produce, because we were kind of raw, you know, we had a lot of raw talent, but so they brought L.A. Dre in to help produce our project. And you know, before too long, you know, we hit it off so well with L.A. Dre, and we needed a stronger keyboard player. He was like, hey man, you know, would you guys be interested in me joining the group? We were like, yeah, for sure. So not long after that, we finished a demo, and we had two labels, Scotty Brothers, right, and Atlantic, that were showing the most interest at the time. I was excited because James Brown was on Scotty Brothers at the time. I'm like, I could be label mates with James Brown. So we took the Scotty Brothers deal. And we had a great time, and we released a single called "Trust in Me."
And hold on a second.
Yeah. Hey.
For those that don't remember, we want to make sure that if you guys happen to take a little bit of a blast from the past here, this is "Trust in Me," the video that I happened to find online, and I was actually and I want to. This is actually really funny because those who don't remember Trust in Me, but hold on a second. Yeah, and the other thing too, I want to get the picture of the band, because let's see, you can see the young Martin Kember here. Hold on, we're gonna look at him,
Baby.
Oh my God! So yeah, so Trust in Me breaks, and you guys are like, you know, you guys are killing it. And you also had, what was the other song? Was Wish? Was it Wish You or
With You? Yeah, with You was the follow-up single to that. And man, one of the highlights of that time, I've got a few standout times about my time with AZ-1. The highlight being our performance and interview on Soul Train with Don Cornelius. Now, you know, keep in mind, not many people know this, but I was actually a Soul Train dancer prior to being in AZ-1.
What?
So I went through the process of being a dancer and then coming back a number of years later and performing on Soul Train and being interviewed by the iconic Don Cornelius with some of my best friends, man. So it was some of the highlights of my life, you know, just being on tour. And then, you know, we were a new band at the time. So I remember another standout moment during that time was, you know, we were in Richmond, Virginia. I'd never been to Richmond, Virginia before, but we were in a club, and you know, it was you know, they were a little rowdy that night, right? And so the radio had just started playing our song out there, so nobody knew really who we were. But so we took the stage in this club. It was packed. You know, people are like, you know, just giving us a rough time, like, who the hell are you, you know? As our music started to play, this one guy was bold enough and he threw a bottle up on the stage, like just being, you know, being aggressive. But my best friend Sean, he like caught the bottle and then really slowly walked over and put it on the speaker, right? And everybody's like, ooh. So, you know, they gave us a hard time. But once we started singing and getting everybody rocking with that New Jack thing, man, they were screaming, go white boy, go.
Right.
That's always great.
But Sean saved us that night, man, with the
oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, like reflexes.
So where are all these other guys that used to be in AZ-1? Where are they at right now?
Everybody's here in LA. Unfortunately, we lost LA Dre about 3 years ago. He passed from a stroke, complications from that stroke. So God rest his soul, man. But LA Dre was the one with the remix of With You, who made the connection. So we had Eazy-E rap on the remix of that, because everybody was doing remixes back then, doing like the Jodeci Come and Talk to Me remix. So we're like, we want something hard like that, even though it's a ballad. So Eazy came and laced it up, and you know, and that version, you know, the label decided not to release at the time. So we ended up kind of putting it out and leaking it ourselves, you know, sometime after. But, you know, shout out to Eazy-E, man. God rest his soul also. But great guy, man.
Definitely. You guys did a lot of writing. You know, I mean, you specifically did a lot of writing and production.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You've written for what, Peebo Bryson? Let's Count on Me.
Peebo Bryson, yeah. Back at that time, me and Jeff did the remix of Shantae Moore's Old School Lovin'. Give me that old school lovin'. That was a joint. Yeah, so Kenny Lattimore. I also
Wayne Brady.
Did quite a lot of stuff for the Australian Idol. Like the first winner of Australian Idol was this fantastic singer named Guy Sebastian. So he recorded a few of my songs also, and you know, he had platinum success with his albums. So I was always, you know, either writing for myself or trying to develop acts, or, you know, writing for other groups, and just really in, you know, always involved in creating music, remixing music, you know, in one way or another.
Yeah. Now, what about this one you did that was an Asian release? That was all for One that you put out. You did 2 songs, like I Prayed for You, I think, and Get It Right.
Wow, you know about those, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So, you can't hide everything, man. Yeah. Well, what's the story?
I was great friends with Jamie Jones from All for One, and Dealey's and all the guys, man. And there were a couple times when one of the guys, you know, here and there wasn't able to travel, and I go jump in with All for One in Singapore or something like that, and just be the fourth voice that night. You know, if one of the guys for whatever reason couldn't travel, we were just great friends like that. And Jamie was a production partner of mine, you know, for a good long time too. We wrote a lot of music together for All for One in you know, in their 2000, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. With some of the music that they put out, and Jamie's got some wonderful. He had a wonderful gospel album that he did mid 2000s also. That was just I had 2 or 3, you know, 4 songs on that, if I recall. That was just just a fantastic kind of neo soul gospel album.
Nice. Yeah, you see, that's all the secret stuff. So we mentioned it. Chris mentioned it. You mentioned it. We said we're going to have to get back to it. So this remix with Tupac.
we got another Tupac story. We have to figure this out.
Well, me and
gotta-
Sean and Jeff first, I think, met Tupac up at the label way back in those days when I was with Indigo and Tom Klein and the Suge Knight album. We met Tupac back then. Now, when he passed, in a way similar to Prince in some way, he had a lot of things that he had recorded that he had never been released. So we won't call it a vault, but he definitely had a lot of music that had not been released. So my good friend Delane Roberts and Kevin Black at Interscope, I was production partners with Jamie Jones from All for One at the time. Now go figure, here's Jamie Jones doing a gospel album, but we're producing Tupac remixes together also. So there's a wide variety of creative differences there, right, so to speak. But so that came about right after Tupac died on the well, not long after Tupac passed away. The Until the End of Time album. They gave me and Jamie just the acapella DAT tapes of Let 'Em Have It and Thuggin' You, Thuggin' Me. Let 'Em Have It featured Left Eye, God rest her soul.
Right.
And Thuggin' You, Thuggin' Me featured Casey and JoJo. So I'd never heard the original tracks. Nobody had ever heard, to my knowledge, the original tracks. So we just built a musical track around that audio of his voice rapping, and it ended up being on the Until the End of Time album, and ended up selling over 6 million copies worldwide. So one of the most successful projects I've been a part of, but I never, unfortunately, never got to be in the studio with Pac, which I would have loved to have done. That would have been an experience and another story all to itself, I can guarantee. But yeah, man, it was just a blessing and an honor to be able to be involved in his legacy in some way or another.
Wow. Yeah, that's just incredible. Sorry if I seem distracted there for a second, but
Sure.
for the first time ever in the history of me doing this show for years, my wife decided to send a bunch of stuff to the printer behind me. So I'm sitting here trying to listen to the story and hear, man. I'm like, are you serious right now? Never, ever, ever happened.
She's taking notes on the show. That's what it is.
Like, I don't like what's being said right now. Click, click, click. But I'm glad that you never actually got to, cross paths with Suge. So you're basically saying you've never ever been hung over the side of a of a hotel by your ankles or anything.
I have not.
But you seem like you have a story to tell.
I have witnessed a lot of things.
Please share.
when we were signed to that label, I was also a single dad at the time. And so, I wasn't in the position where some of the other guys were, where, I had another mouth to feed and the responsibility. So Tom Klein also had an insurance company. So while we're recording our record, our demo, our music, I'm also working at his insurance company during the day, which was also a house or a home to the record label, the same, corporate offices in Wilshire and on Wilshire in Beverly Hills. And so, yeah, there was there was a lot of things that I was able to unfortunately witness that were very scary. And it wasn't too long before I realized, like, this probably isn't the best place for me to be. I might be in a little over my head. And respectfully, I'll keep that where that is. But me and Jeff and Sean took Suge and Mr. Klein to Roscoe's one day and respectfully asked out of our contract and and they granted it. So much respect, man. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
And that was some things, and some days that were some tough pills to swallow of things that you would witness going on in those days. Because I mean, I'm just one of those guys. I've only ever done this for the love of music and the creative process and the performance and of what we're trying to create. And when it gets to things that are above and beyond and so extra, you know what I mean, you got to sometimes look around and recognize that and know where you're probably better off.
Right.
And maybe I missed it, but did Tupac ever really comment on your work on the remix?
It was after he passed, unfortunately. No. I know that it got the approval of his mom and Molly, who was very close to him at Interscope. She was kind of like one of his liaisons at the label. But they chose them to be on the album and they chose them to be singles, so that meant something. That meant a lot to me. That I would think that as brilliant as Pac was, that the people closest to him would appreciate our creations or the additions to his creations. I'll put it that way. That
Nice.
were accepted and respected.
Now,
Sweet.
you have a gold record too, right?
I
Correct?
do, yeah. Well, I got the platinum with Tupac. My first gold record was actually with a Christian boy band called Plus One, who recorded one of my songs on not long after AZ-1, several years after I signed a solo deal with Warner Brothers, and did an album, One Shade of Love, which was kind of a very kind of romantic ballad heavy album. That's what the label wanted. They wanted like a Babyface-esque, but maybe a little bit more pop type of approach to R&B pop. And, I produced that album, wrote that album with a great friend of mine that I still work with every now and then, Reed Vertelny, who'd done a lot of work with Luther Vandross. And so we took a year and a half creating that record, all analog, 48-track analog, real music, real instruments, real musicians, and unfortunately, they kind of, there was a big political turmoil at the label at the time, and they kind of dribbled it out without any promotion because I had a guaranteed release clause in my contract.
Political turmoil at a record label? I don't know.
Yeah, who would have thought, right? So,
Imagine.
I ended up on the wrong side of the power struggle. And but that record still, they released it and it still kind of built its kind of cult following, European and American, kind of a cult following of people who found it for themselves. And, it still opened up a lot of doors for me. And then I was also able to shop some of those songs. One of them was covered by Kenny Lattimore. One of them was covered by that group Plus One, which ended up being my first gold. So, everybody's got battle stories and war stories and scars in this business, but it's a roller coaster. So you're constantly trying to figure out how to ride that roller coaster and stay creative and not let those ups and downs affect your creative process.
Vicky says, Martin, you need to write a book.
Ooh, I've thought about it.
Yeah, I bet you probably had some stories for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Color Me Bad for a moment. Color Me Bad, is a band that started in 1985 out of Oklahoma of all places.
Yes.
I don't think I feel like I can name any bands that started in Oklahoma. I don't know. Anyway, they started out in Oklahoma. And maybe what were you going to say? Does somebody know a band that came out of Oklahoma?
No, I was going to agree. I didn't know either.
I can't think of any bands that came out of Oklahoma. I'm
I'm
probably
sure there's
wrong.
some country
Somebody's
bands,
probably
but not
gonna-
really
yeah,
R&B
yeah.
or pop that I know
I'm sure
of.
somebody's gonna litter the thing. Oh well, so and so came out of Oklahoma, and so
Everybody.
I know I'm about to be bashed. I got it. I'm about to be flamed for that. I got it. But they obviously became renowned for their hit "I Want to Sex You Up," which everybody obviously knew. For some reason, do I not have a clip of that song? I don't. I think I want to make sure that I don't play something that's going to get us kicked off of YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah,
But anyways, they also had other hits like "I Adore Me More" and "All for Love."
yeah, you got
Totally
you got Taken Back, also Slow Motion.
right.
Those guys, which I will say when I was digging and playing and because I've listened to those songs back then, but I didn't ever notice that there was a remix with Bootsy Collins of Slow Motion, and I was like, dude, pretty awesome.
As I understand, that connection was made by their guitar player Ace, who was from that area in Ohio where Bootsy's from, and as the story goes, they made the connection there. But yeah, I joined Color Me Bad in let me see if I remember correctly, it was probably the end of 2012 through 2014. So it was kind of after their heyday. But they had broken up for a while. And they had broken up largely because of, inner turmoil between the members of the group. But again, 90s R&B was still in demand, still making, a good comeback and a resurgence in popularity, especially in the live music arenas. And so they had made an attempt to reunite, and they were actually doing some tour dates with, again, my great friends from All for One. And there had been, a big problem on the road, because there had been a lot of, well-documented substance abuse and alcohol issues with various members of the group. And so they had a tour to finish, and one of the members, Brian, was unable to do it, and the other two members of the group at that time, Kevin and Mark, could not see going forward with Brian. So they asked Jamie, like, hey, do you happen to know any white guys who were really soulful, that could sing, that could pull off? And Jamie was like, well, as a matter of fact, I do. So he made the connection for me. I was living in Chicago at the time. They had heard my album called Cycles, which I had released independently in the US, but I had a distribution deal in Japan for that album. So they had heard that album, which was another very kind of pop R&B album, just me writing, telling stories, and they were impressed by that. I got the call from them. They flew out to Chicago. And of course, I was a fan of Color Me Bad. So I'd done my homework. I knew the material. And I'd also looked online and saw, this particular a cappella that they used to do. And just kind of watched and learned, Brian's parts from those videos. And when they got to Chicago, we hit that a cappella, and I was ready. And our voices just blended so well instantly. And they were like, we want you. You got the gig. I'm like, let's go. All right. So it was a great experience, man. I had a great time, out on the road. And I'll be honest, half the time, not that I look like Brian, but, there are probably some similarities. And half the time, people didn't really know the difference, when we were on stage in these big arenas in New Jersey or New York, or, because there was a lot of those 90s throwback shows at the time. So we're doing, these beautiful arenas with big jumbotrons and, just a great time, man. And I had a blast doing it. Unfortunately, that came to an end going into 2015, Mark had decided that he wanted to reunite with Brian. Kevin at the time was like, if Martin's out, I'm out. I can't do the Brian thing. And so Kevin quit. And so it became at that point just Mark and Brian out there doing their thing. And you can all YouTube and see how that ended up. but shout out to Kevin Thornton, man. Shout out to Kevin KT Thornton, man. That's a good dude, man. Talented dude, and much respect to him.
And it's funny you mentioned that people don't recognize you. Not to interrupt, Jeff, because this kind of segues into what we were just talking about, because Ann was saying Freak Juice, Tori Ruffin, who was with Morris Day at the time, is from Tulsa, Oklahoma. But there's other ones too. Apparently the Gap Band is from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Cammie said Blake Shelton, Reba McEntire, Toby Keith, the All-American Rejects, the Flaming Lips. I'll stop there. So all those bands are from Oklahoma.
Touché. I did not know the Gap Band was from there. I did not know that.
I would have thought Ohio or something is what I would have
guessed. Right.
But the reason why I put Ann's back up there was because the fact that it said because Tori experienced the same exact thing, because nobody really pays attention. And so sometimes when he's out there playing, they'll be in the middle of a show, and I think last time he was on the show, he said people would yell at him and they go, "Jesse, what's going on, Jesse?"
Right.
All right, okay. And he just nods his head and kind of moves along. But I think you probably got the same exact thing, that people, calling you Brian and whatever else. You just kind of go along or nod your head or go somebody else.
Well, if people came up to me actually in person, like at the autograph sessions after, then I'd set the record straight, right? Like, no, I'm actually Martin. I replaced Brian, but sometimes you don't want to bust their bubble. You just sign it Martin, and they don't know what you signed anyway. Right. We were doing a lot of 40th and 50th birthday parties, right? People showing up, in these big groups of these beautiful ladies that are celebrating their 40th or their 50th, and you just want to be a positive part of that experience for them.
Right, exactly. I totally get that.
I could imagine where it didn't happen when you did the 2014 the BET Awards. I mean,
that was probably the highlight of that time. It was a difficult time, but what a fantastic opportunity that was. Live TV, live TV with a band. Let's go. And that was actually a really difficult performance for me also, which, I've kind of talked about before, is that I had, recently lost my mom before that performance. And it suddenly hit me, we're backstage. Let me just also say, my mother and I, on the way to school every day, she loved Lionel Richie. I have always loved Lionel Richie and the Commodores. So we would always play, 3 Times a Lady, or Still, or Sail On, or Hello, or something in the car on the way to school. And of course, we're at the BET Awards, and they're doing a Lifetime Achievement recognition for Lionel Richie. And all of a sudden, Lionel Richie's out there singing these songs. And the lady, my mom, who is responsible for the fact that I'm even able to stand on that stage at the Nokia Theater on live television on the BET Awards, I'm like, where's my mom? She should be here. And, so when I look back at the video of that, my eyes are puffy and tight. It was a rough, I think, after I hit the first note or two, I was able to settle into my groove a little bit, but it was a tough performance, because I was just overcome with emotion, not only at the opportunity, but just the fact of, going on after Lionel and realizing that I was in this moment without, without my mom,
Yeah. And, you got to end up playing like
emotional thinking about it now,
Well, you got to end up playing something like that. You got to play when you're playing something like the 2014 scenario. There's got to be some backstage stories too, because the amount of star power that is at an event like that 2014. So there's got to be some highlights from that show. that you guys know?
Well, I will say that, Mark and Brian were, they were on point, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Mark and Kevin were on point. You know what I mean? But Nicki Minaj was a guest on the show that night.
Really? I guess
there was,
she was around that time.
There were some people backstage that swore that they were quitting the business after some of the shenanigans that were going on. I wasn't there to witness them, but I know she was extremely demanding of a lot of the people. So shout out to Nicki Minaj, man. She is a diva. She is a diva for real. But nonetheless, extremely talented and, really has made her mark on the industry.
Yeah, it's just amazing to be at those types of shows. I mean, every now and then I'll get to go to, some type of show, and there's like so many different types of people there from so many different walks of life, and
right,
actors and musicians, and you get to, you just don't know who to see. You couldn't take enough selfies in enough quick period of time.
Here's the sad part of I won't say sad. The negative, I won't even say downer. Okay. The one awkward part about that show is that the 90s throwback section featured Color Me Bad, Silk, and Troop, right? Yeah. And so, but we were all secrets, right? So the whole 90s throwback, we were like surprise guest artists. So we didn't get to walk the red carpet. We were kind of sequestered in a room backstage because they didn't want the rumor getting out. They wanted it to really be a live surprise during the show, and Silk, Troop started out with all I do is think of you.
Yes.
They started out with that, and then we came out and did a little piece of Sex You Up, and Silk came and closed it out with Freak Me. And man, it was just just a fantastic time, man. So the after parties were even more fun. but it was just a little disappointing that we didn't get to fully enjoy all of the publicity that could have come from it also. But, I will say, in all complete honesty that, when I joined Color Me Bad, the offers that were coming in were pretty low because, they had a damaged reputation within the concert buying marketplace at the time. And by the time I left there, and after the BET Awards and the success that we'd had at all of the tour dates that we'd done together, it had more than quintupled, right? And that's just probably being a little modest to even say that. But the offers that were coming in were fantastic. But unfortunately, a little greed kicked in for Mark, and
Are you afraid? I mean, are you afraid that you're like kind of burning bridges? We appreciate the candid, but you're like real candid right now as far as that's concerned right now.
Well, it kind of just is. It's nothing that hasn't been said before, honestly. I
understand. I just
it's kind
really
of
eloquent the way you're putting it.
I do. I love candor because that's really important as far because a lot of times you try to get people to say what really happened, and they're just like, well, things just didn't work out.
Right. Yeah. Well, so, there's reasons for that. There's reasons when things don't work out, right?
Yeah. Well, I love your being so candid.
That's why I said nothing's off the table, man.
Well, that's amazing.
So, you're not breaching any court orders. We're good.
Well, see, and I know that okay, so let's kind of shift away from Color Me Bad, because we're talking a little bit about the background Prince stuff. Obviously, I know whenever I go to Alfonso Starr's events, and I've probably been to like 3 or 4 of them. 9 times out of 10, you're there. How did that relationship between you and Alfonso start? And we're gonna gonna pump the November show for sure. I mean, we want to make
Sure.
sure people can come out, but I do want to hear about the relationship that started between you and Alfonso, and also maybe to kind of feed into that, you know, I see, I am very, very honored, and I notice the sign of the times. I see the guitar logo up there behind you. I see
Yep.
originals behind you. I see a bunch of logos. So obviously you're a hardcore Prince fan.
I
Have you
bleed
ever had
purple.
an opportunity to actually meet him? Did you get an opportunity to?
I never got to meet Prince. I always had in the back of my mind that one day I would, you know, I would get to work with him. I felt, you know, one day I'll get to work with him in one day, or one way or another.
Right.
But I never did. But I got the second best thing, which was that dream phone call in 2019, where I was offered the opportunity to do some dates with the New Power Generation as a guest vocalist. And that was really, you know, just like a real dream come true, payoff moment for me, from all the bumps and bruises that I'd been through, you know, in this business, which we all go through bumps and bruises, you know.
Right.
But that was like that payoff moment for me, because, you know, I've always been just a fantastically huge Prince fan since I heard in 1979, when I heard "I Want to Be Your Lover," driving in the family station wagon from Michigan to Los Angeles. I heard it somewhere in the Midwest. It came on the radio, and it's the first thing I did when we got to LA and got settled into our hotel. The first thing I did was went to the Glendale Galleria and bought that album, and I also bought the George Clinton Funkadelic Not Just Knee Deep album at the same time, those two. And I had my little portable record player with me, and the rest was history, man. I was a Prince fan ever since. I went back and bought the For You album after that and discovered Soft and Wet, because, you know, lyrics were a little mature for a young man my age at the time. But yeah, man. So that was, you know, the dream moment. So I think everything I've ever written has just a little bit of Prince in it. And then, so me and Alfonso, I saw that he was throwing the Star Party #1 in Minneapolis in April of that year. Now, I want to say this was probably 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Alfonso, you can correct me in the text if you're wrong. But I think it was 2017. You know, I was part of the Purple fan group, Purple Funk SF, which, you know, was, as I understand, if I believe, he was one of the originators of that group, along with Gigi, if I'm not mistaken. And I saw that he was throwing it, and I hit him up and said, "Hey, man, you know, I'm going to be in Minneapolis. I'd love to come and sing something, you know, at your event." And I sent him a little video, a little snippet of me, you know, singing something from Prince, I'm sure. And, you know, the rest is history. He said, "Yeah, you know, it's like, you know, if you just want to come out, I'd be fun to have you." So, you know, I went out there and just did a track show, did 3 or 4 songs of recreated Prince music that I recreated here in my studio, versions that I, you know, recreated myself, sung all the backgrounds, and went with a kind of a backing track. And I think that night we did God, we did Insatiable, we did Let's Work, and maybe one more. You know, so it's a great bounce, because Alfonso, he's so much fun, right? And his parties have so much energy, and the energy level is sky high at a Star Party or any kind of party that Alfonso is DJing. He's, you know, and I love that about him, you know. And I'm kind of like, so we balance each other out well, because I kind of really capture the more intimate, kind of sexy ballad side of what Prince does, you know. And so when he does many of his shows, or if I'm doing a show, I want Alfonso there, because I need that hype. I want that fun. Right. You know what I mean? And so yeah, we did Henderson together. We did the Henderson thing together a few times and brought my band out, the unit. We did the second star party. We were going to do the third one. You know, COVID killed that for the time being. We're hoping that's going to be on for 2022, which, you know, hopefully it should be now. But yeah, man. So, you know, I've become great friends with him, man. I got so much respect for him, and I just love the energy and the party atmosphere that he brings to any Purple party. So it's like, you know, now it's like, you know, if I book a gig, I'm like, well, we need Alfonso too, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do is call Mr. Starr and see if I can talk him in, if he's not booked already, if he can come and be a part of it. So shout out to Alfonso, man.
Yeah,
Deuces.
yeah. I don't know how you keep up, because I've had him on the show before, and Alfonso and I are friends. We've met many times. But what's always amazing to me about Alfonso is, even when you're watching his shows, he takes it so seriously. He has like tons of costume changes just during a period of a night.
Yes.
So like he'll be DJing lots of Prince stuff, and there'll be like lots of Prince music playing, and then you'll see him disappear. And sure enough, he'll come out with a cloud suit, or he'll come out like it's all different Prince era stuff. And he's got the wigs, he's got the jewelry, he's got the suits, he's got the, you know, I mean, it's like he has an entire wardrobe of a Prince wardrobe, and he's always switching things out. And he always throws some of the best parties like that. It's just, you know,
absolutely. And like me, he bleeds purple, and it's, you know, he doesn't do it to make money. He's not trying to profit off of it. He just does it for the love of the Purple music and getting all of the party people together. If you make money, that's great. That's a plus. You know, nobody wants to lose money, but all we ever try to do is break even when we get together, so we can just get everybody together and enjoy it. And you know, and I like to pay my band well, you know what I mean? So that when I call them, they're going to be available. Right?
And I will tell you something else. Somebody else that always steals the show whenever you guys perform together is your daughter. I think,
my baby.
Okay, because what's her name again?
Mila Kale.
Mila Kale.
It's the Hawaiian translation for miracle. So Mila Kale.
Mila Kale. Okay, the first time I saw her, I want to say it was in Minneapolis. Maybe it was at the Brew House. I think it was. I can't remember. It was one of the ones where everybody was set up along the perimeter, like all the vendors and stuff. Like I think Mary Johnson was there selling her things off to the side. There was like a bunch of different vendors, whatever. But your daughter, when she gets on stage, she has this bouncy energy. And it's not just like if I did a show, Jaden might come on, or she like refused to come on the stage. But your daughter just gets up there and she just goes at it. She's engaging with the audience. She's doing all this dancing and all this. I mean, she is a show stealer for sure. You're going to have your hands full when she gets into the whole performing and speak. I'll let you speak to her for a second too, but also, you know, I also heard that she was actually featured on Nike's website or Nike's mobile website or something like that.
She was, yeah. Nike Kids last month. Yeah, she's got a very successful career in commercials and as a model. She can sing her little butt off, which we haven't really, you know, dove too much into as yet. And you know, so she's also like trying to now grow into acting theatrically, you know. So she's had some fantastic auditions. Hasn't landed that one, you know, major thing yet, but you know, she's only 12, bless her heart, you know, so she's got such a future ahead of her. But she's such a smart kid also. You know, when we did our party out here on June the 12th at the Federal in North Hollywood, my baby runs the door. She's 12 years old. She's running the door. She's scanning everybody's tickets. She's like, are you vaxxed? All right, can I see your proof of vaccination, please? Or a negative COVID test, or, you know, so she's checking everybody, man. In Henderson, she was running my table, selling my CDs, selling my gear. You know, she's running the square. She's like, no, Dad, you got to do it. Like she's on it, man. That's my baby. So it's a family affair for sure. Shout out to Monica too, my wife Monica, man. She always is there to support. You know, and I couldn't do it without either one of them.
Yeah, and I know we're kind of we're running on time, but so I want to make sure that we kind of get this in, and now because let me see if I can share this because I do want to share this little thing here. See if I can pull it up. I'm going to share a little bit of a little bit of so it's Martin Kember and the unit are obviously going to be playing. I guess this is on November 20th. It's going to be at November 20th, obviously this year in Washington D.C. at the Songbird Music House. You're going to be there. It's called the Purple Musicology, and it's going to be a Prince tribute, and it features you, obviously, Unit Man, along with Alfonso is going to be there. Well, Alfonso's going to be there DJing. There's Alfonso doing his thing. Alfonso's just as you know, he's always all over the place. He's always he's always there. But there's going to be tickets on sale on Eventbrite, so they can go to your Facebook page. But yeah, that's going to be super, super cool. Tell us a little bit about this event and what people are going to be able to expect to see here in this mix, because this is really, really cool that it's going to be.
Well, I'm bringing my band out, the unit, which features Stacy Lamont Sidnor on drums, who is Layla Hathaway's drummer.
Wow.
Jackson's. He was also on the Puffy Bad Boy reunion tour. Just a fantastic man, one of a great friend of mine, and one of the best drummers you'll ever hear. So he's kind of my MD for this. So I'm bringing the band out, and we're gonna just get it in that night. Alfonso's going to play all the Purple Funk. And also, we're also going to be joined by a good friend of mine, Renee, who is one of the former Ray Charles Raylettes. And she's going to join me on vocals and sing some backgrounds. And we might do a duet together. We haven't decided which song we're going to sing yet, but she lives in DC. She's a great friend of my wife. So she's going to join us. And there's a couple other surprise guests that we're going to be announcing probably by the end of this week too, that are going to join us. So, I think this thing's going to sell out once we make these announcements. So get your tickets now. It's only 200 maximum at this venue. And so I'm super looking forward to that. That's November 20th at the Songbird Music House in DC, 540 Penn Street. And tickets are at Eventbrite. So if you're in the area, the DMV, they call it, right? DC, Maryland, Virginia. Thank you, Alfonso. You hit me to that. And anywhere around, come to DC that night and come hang out and party with us. And we're going to celebrate Prince's music all night long. Another thing I want to tell you guys about, too, is that I'm so excited and just blessed to be a part of Juan Escovedo's upcoming album called The J. Now, the first video that we did, it blew my mind because we wrote the song. Well, I didn't write the song. I'm singing the lead on the song. They wrote the song. We shot the video, just kind of a performance video in the studio, which is coming out first part of November. Sheila E. on drums, right? Juan Escovedo on percussion. We're recording this and filming this in Raphael Sadiq's studio, and El DeBarge on backgrounds, me singing lead. So it's just like another one of those dream come true moments. So that song is called My Angel, and that's going to be released the first part of November. And I'll be at Yoshi's in Oakland with Juan Escovedo and his band. And word is Sheila E. may even be in the house that night. So that's at Yoshi's. Those tickets are available also. So look that up on Yoshi's website if you're in the Bay Area. November 8th, we're going to debut a lot of that music there in Oakland at Yoshi. So I'm super excited about that, man. So much good stuff and good energy going on, all surrounding the Purple world and the Purple family.
Man, well, congrats. I got to tell you, this is really awesome, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some of these stories, man. I know that a lot of people probably learned a lot about you tonight because a lot of people have seen you in passing. You're pretty active in the Prince world, and especially, doing a lot of these events with Alfonso. It's been pretty friggin' awesome. And man, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, Martin. And November 20th. purplemusicology.com is where you can find out more information on the tickets if you're interested in going to that show on November 20th. And man, it's been
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, man. It's been an honor, man. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for joining us.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you know, and hey, I look forward to getting together with you guys in person and you know, celebrating some more Purple music together when we do that. And thank you guys, man, for doing this show, because I really enjoy it. I love the interview with Greg Boyer, you know, and my new name for my best friend is Liquid Chicken now. So, you know, I'm like, what's up, Liquid Chicken? How you doing, man? Shout out to Sean Harris. Shout out to Jeff Gill.
That's right.
Yeah, we're gonna have to give. Yeah, that's what we're gonna start calling you, Jeff. I'll start calling you Liquid Chicken.
What's up, Liquid Chicken?
I mean, why not?
It's better than the Rage,
It's
right?
better than Jive Turkey. That's all.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Keep doing what you're doing, fellas.
yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Martin Kember, thank you, man. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Mark. Thank you very much.